almost there. Okay, so let's share the screen again. So coming back and continuing to work through the workflow. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
wait. Oh, wait, I don't need to enlarge it, right?
Whatever you do.
Because you need me to move it or because you need me to move stuff?
Yeah, you're doing whatever makes it comfortable as long as we can see your workflow.
Oh, okay. Let me move the screen to the bottom. Oopsie.
So we have your start. After you start, the first screen they see is the welcome, and then from there they can choose to log in or not. If they do choose to log in, they're going to end up at the member home page, and then from the member home page, um, mm, they can either choose the path of to look at their stats, their to book a service or measurements, and then we're going to build those out. But if they don't log in, then they get to choose what we offer, about us, testimonials, and to contact us. And I think before we left, you were adding that other arrow to contact us. So go ahead and add that from from here to, yeah. Uh, I think you that arrow, just drag it. It'll change shapes. Yeah, let it go. Well, you had it. Yeah, just let that go. Yeah. Okay. So, um, so Janella, she was like, "Where's the endpoint?" So that's a very good point because so what we offer, about us, testimony is contact us. One reason that a lot of businesses lose money is because they're not capturing anything, like there's no end goal. Because you should always have an option to not only not only acquire new clients, but just stay in contact with people. So all of these flows, even if someone doesn't book a service, they should have an option to create some type of, or to complete some type of action to kind of finalize the handshake, right? So what would be, based on the business of your client, what would be a good final course of action for someone to take, even if they're not a member, over here in this non-member area?
They could subscribe to a newsletter. They
Yep.
can do a
Yep.
contact form.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. I think a newsletter would be awesome. So let's make a final point where all of these roads lead to let me see. Let me see what we offer, about us, testimonials, contact us. Yeah, there should always be a link from all of these to either do we want to always show the option to book a service, or do we want to?
I think showing the option to book the service is good because that's how.
I feel like that should be under what we offer. So maybe like let's build out what we offer. So let's take like what we offer, and then under here show the services. So create that arrow and then show the services under what we offer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so like that connection from here, we are 3 branches. Yeah, let that go. Yeah, awesome. What's that for? You don't need to. Okay, so what we offer, so and then all three of these lead to what?
Um,
In
book a
general,
service.
not the what did you say?
Book a service.
Yep. So go ahead and create that path. And that's actually the endpoint. So you want that to be a circle.
Okay.
No, book a service is your endpoint. Yep. Just make that book a service a circle shape.
Yeah.
And your color representation, you chose purple, so you have to stay consistent with your color diagram, your color legend. So yep, awesome.
Oh, wait a minute. Do that different the same color?
No, actually, if it's a darker shade of purple, that's fine.
Oh,
So
okay.
your entry points can be the lighter shade, and then just get rid of that. Because one thing to keep in mind when you're doing workflow is that the workflow is not the details of what's on the page, it's just their path. Because it's real easy, like for our brains to start deep diving and then we start building out the page. So the workflow is not building out all of the details that are within the page. Does that make sense? Like the overall workflow is just a general, it's a map. Think of it as a map. When you look at a map, and you know how when you're in Google Maps and it'll tell you like turn left here, turn right there, and then it'll show you the mall. If you know how you had a little pen and a little pen, it's like this is the mall.
Yeah.
The pen doesn't tell you that Dillard's, JCPenney's, Claire's, they can book massages, lashes. The pen doesn't say all that. It just says mall.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So this is like the roadmap of the flow. We do get to the point where we detail out all of what happens when you get to all of these pages, but right now the focus is just the paths. Where are they landing? And then we'll deep dive into what's inside of that once we start like wireframing out the specific paths. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got start. So welcome. If they log in, they see the member homepage, and from the member homepage, they can check their stats, they can book a service, or measurements, and then it's I kind of feel like this is the endpoint, honestly. But if they let me see stats, they're just viewing the stats, book a service. Now, book a service probably has an endpoint, measurements. I book a service.
We had moved that over here, remember?
Right. No, I'm just trying to think about the flow because we book a service is so complicated, it needs its own. But I'm just saying, if they end up with book a service, I wonder, should we make that a okay? When they book the service, do they actually pay?
After they pick a
Okay,
date.
so I'm sorry, make this a square again. Make that a yellow square again. And then from there, make the endpoint checkout, like pay / checkout.
Make this purple.
Purple circle. And then do pay / complete payment.
And then complete payment, a square?
No, this is the endpoint. That's the final, that's where we want them to ultimately end up.
Oh.
From booking a service, and then connect that line from book a service to Right. And then after they book a service, are we sending them to a thank you page, a landing page, or
Yeah,
after they book a service, what are they going to see?
confirmation. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So then we can just from that endpoint. And then from there, where are they going? Can they go back to like about us, the homepage? Like where are they going to end up?
Um, Back to home,
Okay. So then where is
or
that home? We can take
they
that
can
data.
get it can become a member.
Oh, so now will they automatically land in the member homepage now that they're a member? This will they automatically be dropped into this member section, even though there's no content there? Will they now have access to the member area?
No, it'd be they have to become a member.
Well, they just paid.
It could have been an in-body assessment or personal training or health assessment.
But if you do Embody, don't you need to have a way to log in to see your results?
But when they become a member, don't they have to create a username and a profile?
So is booking a service signing up for membership?
No.
Okay, so explain to me the difference.
Booking a service is just
So he's
book,
he's
right. Booking a service is just a random person that wants to do an in-body assessment just because they want to see their body stats or just they want to do the one-time assessment.
okay.
And
Okay.
then
Are those assessments saved anywhere? Like, can they go back and view their assessments? Can they log in and see their assessments?
if they aren't a member, if they aren't a member, they would have to book another assessment with him. Like in order for him to show them their stats.
So I guess I wonder, is this like an oversight on the client side again? Because like if someone signs up, let's just say it's like you know, should I be able to that will it make it easier for the client if once I book a service, I can log in and see the results? Because the services are personal training, which means that it's an ongoing relationship. The health assessment, okay, that may be a one-time thing, but I still want to be able to log in and see the numbers. I don't want to have to call you every time, right? Or Embody, I still want to be able to. So there can be different membership levels where it's just like, I'm not always looking at my measurements or my stats, but when I'm looking at member home, are the members, can they see their Embody assessment? Can they see their health assessment if I'm a member? I,
Um,
sh I
so
should
the
be able.
members, so the members, the way the embody is set up, you don't have a separate login. Only the owner of the embody has a login, and only they can show you your stuff.
But I'm just saying that's the way it is, but is that the way it should be?
Well, that's
Is that the best user experience? Because if I'm a client and I sign up for an Embody, I want to be able to go back and look at what my results were because I
yes.
paid for that.
So
I,
he would have to log in. He would have to upload that somewhere somehow on his end so they can see it.
so
But
that
it's
means that's something that you may need to build out as for his user experience. So it sounds like he needs a form where he conducts so his website needs to have inside of this member area, his website needs to have a form for Embody and a form for health assessments so that when he goes in, his website should be his one-stop shop. So if someone comes in and says, I want to do an Embody, then he should be able to open up a form and enter all those results.
okay.
Because one thing about UX design and user experience is that a lot of times the end user has a lot of blind spots. I'm not the end user, the client has a lot of blind spots and a lot of things they didn't think through. So it's very important that as UX designers, you don't approach it as um, let me just design what they ask for without keeping your mind open to what they don't have that they don't know to ask for. So it's very important. Your biggest value is your biggest value add is I know what you don't know to ask for. I know what you're not thinking about.
Okay.
I know the considerations that you didn't consider.
Okay.
Yeah. Because those types of things, great user design and great UX design can drastically improve the profits of the client, the business, because you bring to the table all these oversights that make it such an enjoyable. Remember, we talk about is it usable? Is it enjoyable? That's why it always goes back to this. Where is that? It always goes back. That's why we start here.
I don't see your mouse.
Oh, I'm in a different, I'm on the, you got to go to the Zoom script, share screen.
Oh, the screen. Oh, Zoom. Okay. Make it bigger. Oh, okay.
That's why this is always like once we establish this, we don't like move away from this and not keep this in mind as we're designing. The whole purpose of us doing this first is to constantly come back to this. Every design choice we make. So it's always going back to who we're targeting, what's the purpose and objective. When we did if you remember, this was like our Apple Heads community experience when we did this when we did I think it was the first or second class, when we went through the scenario of what if we were creating an Apple Heads community. And then when we identified that purpose and objective, we said it was to engage and connect as a family of content creators who can use Apple products, to increase awareness of other products and services, to increase word of mouth, to collaborate with others, to share ideas. So when you did your homework assignment and you identified the purpose and objective of your client's app, what was the answer? What did you fill in for here for your homework assignment? What was the purpose and objective?
I don't remember.
I think that may be part of the problem with the design, because there's no way you can design without every design choice is centered around the purpose and objective.
Okay.
Like every design decision is centered around the purpose and objective. But I think you intuitively know, like, what's the purpose and objective of your client's app? What's the purpose and objective? What's the problem that it's solving?
He wanted people to be able to go online and book instead of having to do it, making phone calls and manually.
Right. But what else is the purpose and objective that was identified? Because the purpose and objective is, okay, so we got what's the purpose, and when his end users come, what's going to be their desire so that it's
well, wait. I was gonna say maybe they wanted to lose weight.
No, I mean in terms of the user experience.
Oh.
Like if I come to an app like this, like if I'm a member, if I hire you as a personal trainer, and if you tell me you offer an app, because to just be able to book, that's kind of selfish. Because that's kind of only focusing on the money part of it, but not focusing on the experience of the people who you're servicing. It's kind of like I just care about them being able to book. It's like, yeah, okay, but what about their experience? You know what I mean? Like it can't just be, I just want to make sure they can book and not have to call me.
And that's when I step in and then I tell them that it's not just about you.
Right, you don't say it like that. Yeah, because it's coming across very selfish and self-centered. You know what I mean? And when you have like designs that are This is user experience, not business experience. You are a
Right.
user experience designer. So the first person that you're considering is the user. And when we go back to the definition of, go back, pull this back up again. And when you take your exam, what's the wrong one? Let me stop sharing for 1 second. And that's important because when you take your certification exam, that's definitely going to be a question.
We have
The
to take a
question,
certification exam?
yes.
Wait, you stopped recording, right?
No, I'm still recording. I'm just
Oh.
pulling up the other thing. So let me see. Oops.
So
Okay.
the example that you're giving us now, it reminds me of when we were at the Lifetime website and how it was just not user friendly at all. It was more so like it was just, wow, look at my brand. I don't care about how nice the flow is for members or non-members.
Yeah. And it's like characteristics of good user design. These answers, these 4 answers, you have to memorize these. They're going to be on your certification exam. So the 4 characteristics of good user experience is it usable? Right? Is it equitable? Is the design enjoyable, and is it useful? So usable, okay, yeah, they can book, but if I come to you, so back to this example, we're still on usable. We haven't even gotten to equitable, enjoyable, and useful because we still have to make sure this is usable. We haven't checked this off yet. We haven't achieved an A in making sure this app is usable yet. So we have to check all of these 4 boxes. So coming out of here and coming back into, and I'm so excited for this experience that you have because, and that's another value of working on a real project, because in theory, we can talk all day in theory, but these are the types of scenarios you come up with, whether you're working for a Fortune 500 company or an individual. Because when you're working with a business, we call it the business layer. Sometimes you do work for companies and the business layer is very one-sided.
Yeah.
They just know they're always looking at the bottom dollar and they just want people to sign up for the service. Their ultimate goal is just make sure people buy, make sure people sign up, but they're not necessarily emotionally connecting with what makes people sign up, what makes people buy, what makes people come back, like what creates that enjoyable experience where people refer the product or service to other people. And us working through this is what that is. So if they don't log in, they get to see what we offer, about us, testimonials, contact, what we offer. So there's an InBody, a personal training, a health assessment. And from all 3 of these, they can book a service. And once they book a service, they check out. Now, the question that we were posing as a team working on this is, when they check out, should it just be, of course, they're going to see the thank you and confirmation, but then after the thank you and confirmation, are they considered members, or do they just go back to the homepage? From a user experience, if I sign up for a service, even if it is a one-off, I would love to be able to go back and see my results. That's going to help the business. That's going to make it, and I'm not saying that my results are immediately available, right? My results may not be available until I actually meet with my trainer and he conducts the assessment. So even though I can see even though I can come in here to the member home area, it just may just say, welcome, this is your member area. And it may just say, your InBody assessment is scheduled for April, blah, blah, blah. Be sure to check back here to view your results at any time. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah, so we should do what we offer, book a service, create a profile, or create a profile. Wait, embody health assessment.
Yes,
Create
that's an awesome. Yep. Thank you confirmation and then create a
create a
profile.
profile.
Mhm.
Okay. I need to get back. Okay, so
So after thank you confirmation.
oh, so should I do, wait, I don't have to do the thought process, do I?
Well, that's not a thought process, that's an actual screen. So after the thank you confirmation, they're going to land on the create a profile screen.
Oh, okay. So create a profile and it's so they don't need like yes or no.
No, create a profile.
Create a profile. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then after
Um,
they create the profile, they're going to end up in a member home.
I have a
So, and
question
then,
though.
mm-hmm.
So since it's checkout complete, you know, payment, oh,
It's like an
payment complete. So there's no arrow needed here because the thank you confirmation just pops up, right?
No, we still need the arrows. I
You
was
need
going to
arrow.
say, maybe for the endpoint, it may be a good idea I can't do anything because I can't edit, but move this like over here.
Oh, okay. Like here.
Move this over here too. No, up under it. Because it's still the flow. So you're
Okay.
still gonna like from the checkout. And the only reason, yep, and move that up. And sometimes they'll do like dotted lines to show that it's a difference, like it's something that happens after a completed. So you can change this arrow to like a dotted line to show that this is after they completed an endpoint we want.
Okay.
And then do this one as a dotted line too. And then after they create the profile, they're going to end up here. So
Member
create a
homepage.
dotted line from here to here. So exactly. Yeah, the way you had it before. Yeah, right there. Let go. That's awesome. You see that completed loop?
Mhm.
Now that's a good experience. That's usable.
Okay.
So now it's like, okay, I start my entry point, and then it's like I see the welcome. I'm not a member because most people are not going to be members.
Right.
So I get to, this is the non-member homepage, and from the non-member homepage, I can see what you offer. I can see about, testimonials, contact. What we offer has a path, right? I can book embody, personal training, and health assessment. These are 3 different views that are going to tell me about these services, but from all 3 of these, I can book a service. If I complete it and then I check out, and then I'm going to see the thank you confirmation. It's going to take me to create a profile, and then I'm going to land in the member area.
Okay.
That feels a lot better, right, than what we started with.
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then if you are a member and you log in, but now members, they can see stats, book of service measurements, but they also can see embody and health assessment.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you want to add that over here too.
Oh,
Embody and health assessment.
it's just so funny because when you do your mouse, it starts waving big on my screen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one of the cool things. Like all of these little cool, fun, enjoyable interactions. That's one of the, put it over on this side.
over here. Okay.
That's one of the reasons that Figma just came in and just obliterated everyone, because the user experience is awesome. We can even have jam sessions when we like listen to music together while we're working. Right. So look, we can do this if we want to create a vibe, right?
Really?
You hear it?
Mm-mm.
You don't hear my music playing?
No, what is playing?
If you come over here, so you see up here where you see the record playing,
Oh, but I don't hear anything.
did you press
Oh,
on your
because it's on
speaker?
mute. Oh, I hear it now.
I created a vibe. It's our work vibe. Like all of that cute stuff
I can't hear it.
on your, you got to log in. You will have to be logged in Figma. But it's
Oh.
like, so we can work together and create all of that stuff. Like when I tell you, they just obliterated the competition with
I
this.
love it.
Yeah. But see, like they made it enjoyable, right?
It did.
Yeah, it's fun. So yeah. But yeah, so we got that. And you want those to be solid lines. Right.
Move this line over. Okay.
All right. So yeah. So that's awesome. You see?
Mhm.
So now this is a good, we're working this out.
This is very enjoyable to me.
Awesome. You'll love your job. This is exactly what you're going to be doing. So like, yep. So start, let me see. Did we not, is there anything we didn't consider? Embody stats. We can go ahead from this member area. Like if a member wants to book another service, we can do the same thing where we, you know, come down here where they check out and they complete payment.
Okay.
This right here.
All right. So checkout completes.
After they book a service, yeah, you can make it closer. And then so from there, this is going to be the path from book a service down. And then the same thing, they're going to see the thank you confirmation page.
Oh, just here.
We can put it there, yeah. With the dotted line because they completed our endpoint.
Oh.
And then they go right back after they come. After that, they'll end right back up at the members page, the members homepage. So you can take that from like here out and pull it back around this way, like from up here. You're gonna end back right here.
Dotted line.
Yep.
Why does it look like that?
Maybe move it over a little bit, and then maybe it'll give you that other connection. Or just, no, well, you should just like the arrow, just maybe take the arrow all the way on the outside and so like if it'll let you like take your arrow from here on outside the embody and swoop it back around here. See if it'll let you do that. Like you go out from the outside and come all the way.
Okay.
And then, oh, it's gonna tilt. Okay, that's okay. We'll bring it back to member. It won't let you. That's fine. Just take it back to member and let go. Yeah, cool. Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Yay, this looks really good. This makes sense.
Hey.
So awesome. So now the next thing is, so now when you start building out the individual views, this right here, like where you have book a service. So move this over, like to give it some clarity, like move this way over. This whole section right here.
Oh, okay.
Like all of this. Yeah. Yeah. And move that over, just scoot it over. Just to kind of separate it from this workflow, but not, maybe like right here is good.
I'll move this over.
No, that whole section you just picked up. That's fine. But now we're gonna, the book of service. It has
I'll
its
move it
own.
here.
No, like over here somewhere. A little bit further over so that it's clear. A little bit more over here. No, the other way, to the right. Yeah, some more to the right. Yeah. And you can kind of push it up so it's on the same line. Push up towards the top.
Right there.
Yeah, so now when you work through this so now you have a new start. So when we're doing a different screen. So this screen is like, we're assuming that they clicked on book a service. So now that's your entry point for this screen.
Okay, so wait a minute.
So here where they have like this right here, move this up. You see this green, select the service. Remove just the green, and it should just be, you see how you have start and then you have welcome product overview. It's going to be start, but it's going to be book a service.
Oh,
over
okay.
here. So you have different, so now you're doing the workflow for each individual view.
Okay. Okay, I see.
Start, yeah, and instead of that being this, change that to just being, right, book a service. And make it, our traditional yellow rectangle and reposition that.
Okay.
So that's going to be. It doesn't, I would move everything. Okay, that's fine. Book a service. So now you see they can choose either embody, they can use personal training, health assessment. It looks like they're always going to have the same experience. So make that just like the regular screen. So what do they see when they book a service? What's the details of this book a service flow?
So check out complete.
Well, I mean, you said some stuff like calendar, pick a date and time, all of that. So for this screen, because this is the workflow from within book a service.
Oh, okay.
So what's that workflow from within book a service?
So select day, time, yeah. And then the calendar will pop up. And then calendar, and then you pick a date and time.
Why is select day and time that slanted green rectangle?
Because it's an action that they're doing, right?
Okay, so that's what you want to use that for action? Okay.
So, and then they in the
But
calendar.
isn't that the same thing as calendar?
Well, the calendar just pops up, but they still gotta pick it, right? Or am I just thinking too much?
Well, let me think about it for a minute. Embody. So when they select the date and time, is that like a separate view? So is it like I click on Embody and then do I arrive on a different page with a calendar on it?
Yeah.
So it you always so um if you've established that that screens are represented by rectangles, meaning like, workflows. I get your thought process. That's why I'm thinking about it real hard. Select the day and time. I feel like you need to swap calendar and so, but I also feel like they're the same thing. Let me see, schedule calendar. Just make that a yellow rectangle and just call it booking calendar. Because they're going to see the booking calendar. Where you have calendar right here, just call it the booking.
Okay, so get rid of this.
Yeah, just call that booking calendar. And then move that up, move everything up and connect it. And that's going to be booking calendar. And then that's going to be the checkout. So you got booking calendar, after they select their date and time, then they're going to check out. That's the endpoint.
Okay, so pick a date and time. Then an endpoint is after
Maybe, no, let me see. First of all, connect that Embody, personal training, all of those lead to the booking calendar. It can, yeah. And then maybe the pick a date and time can be where you had your green when I was saying swap them because it's listed as an action.
Okay, I'll make that the parallelogram.
Right. And then this is your endpoint. The pay is your endpoint. Checkout, complete payment. It's that purple, dark purple button. You could just copy this one. It's the same action.
Which one?
Right here. This one. And then it's the same flow because they got their thank you, right?
Oh yeah. And then I take this off.
We can just end it there because we really don't know. Like this is just us working through this. book a payment page, book a service, but we've already established what the flow is if they are a member or non-member over here. So we can just make it in the thank you confirmation, and that's it.
So should the thank you conversation be
the
purple?
endpoint?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. But no, that'll be like our the endpoint is the endpoint is the ultimate goal. So the ultimate goal is like what you're trying to achieve in the app. So if the ultimate goal is for them to sign up, that's the end goal. The ultimate goal isn't for them to see the thank you confirmation page. The ultimate goal is we want them to sign up or we want them to buy something. You know what I mean? So we would do the dotted line from complete to thank you confirmation.
Okay.
I also feel like that's something that could be subjective too. Like I feel like it's just kind of like I feel like it's a matter of kind of like move that to the side, move that thank you confirmation to the side with the dotted line. Just because to me it feels like it's more of like the endpoint is the endpoint.
Okay.
That's just like, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, About Us doesn't really have a workflow, so it's not necessary to build it out. Testimonials doesn't have, it's not really a workflow attached to that. We'll mock those pages out in terms of how they look. You see what I mean? But booking a service has a workflow. About Us doesn't have a workflow. You just land on the page and you read about the person. You read about the service. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Testimonials doesn't have a workflow. Contact Us doesn't really have a workflow, but this has a workflow because there's steps they have to go through in order to book a service. So that's it. So that is a completed workflow for your client.
Okay. I really like this. It's something I enjoy.
Yeah, so make sure, I think Figma automatically saves, but just in case, make sure you save what the final is. And I'm sorry. It may well, over here where you see this, you see that over there, the little F with the drop down over here. So up at the top where you see the music where you can do the jam session.
Yeah.
And then you have the drop down with the Figma logo. It should be, I think you can save it there.
I don't see it saved. Oh, I'm not screen sharing anymore. You can't see it. I don't see it saved. I see
Look at my screen. So can you see me?
Yeah.
Can you see up here where it says main menu?
Not on your screen.
You don't see it on my screen?
No, on your screen. Nope.
Well, at the top, you see where you see like your user profile and you see me and you see share on the right-hand side. You got to have a menu at the top. You see your menu at the top?
Yeah, but I see new file, but it only says blank whiteboard, meeting, brainstorm, diagram, plan.
Right, but next to that, you don't see on the left of that, you don't see the little F with the down arrow.
Yeah, and that only says back to files, file, edit, view, object.
Right, so when you roll over file, you have more options.
Oh, save local copy?
Yeah, you can do that. I think it automatically saves though, but just to be safe.
So if I log in, it'll still be here?
It's supposed to be, but I would save a local copy just to be safe.
Okay. All right.
So that is beautiful. So now you have, so typically what happens in a workflow is, so let's go back through what we've done so far to make it all make sense.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing this for a second. So let's pull together all the pieces. Look at the big picture. I always want to keep the big picture in mind. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, so this is so exciting. Um, doo-doo-doo. Okay, you can see my screen again.
Yes.
So this is definitely going to be on your certification exam because this is the foundation of all things product development UX design. There are 5 phases to the product development life cycle, right? What are the 5 phases? 4 of them are showing, but do you remember the 5th one? The first phase of the product development life cycle is what? Brainstorm. The second phase is you define who, what, when, where, why, what's the problem. The third phase is design, which is where we are. That's where you're storyboarding, your wireframing, you're working out flow prototypes, right? The design phase is a lot because the design phase starts off with do you remember the first thing that we did when we were in a design phase, your first homework assignment?
Yeah, the scribbles.
Yeah,
The,
the wireframe. It was a hand sketch wireframe,
okay.
right? So, and then from the hand sketch wireframes, we went into workflows, which is where we are now. And then the workflow is kind of like this process we just did, that's exactly what it is, right? It's going through the user path, it's having conversations with your team. It's everybody chipping in and talking about points that you may have missed or may have overlooked and is reworking the workflow. All of that is part of design. Once we, so at this point, you will go back and you will take the workflow that we just established. You're going to have another meeting with your client and you're going to talk through the workflow and explain to them the workflow and why the workflow is what it is. Because the client may, now that their mind, we switch gears and the business is thinking about things that they may not have been thinking about, they may actually have something else to add that we don't know about, right? So now they're like, oh, you know what? I like that. Actually, I want to have this as an option too, or that as an option too. So there's back and forth. When you show them that workflow, it may actually open up their imagination to other things that they want to add within the workflow. So you're gonna take that workflow and you're gonna talk it over with your client and then come back to the team and the team is gonna implement those things and we go through this process until it's solidified. Once the workflow is, and this is also called storyboarding. What we did today is called storyboarding as well. Because remember the conversation we had when we were saying, well, what if a client does actually sign up for in-body assessment? How are they going to see their results? That's storyboarding. When you're coming up with possible scenarios, possible paths that a client may take or may want to take. So we've been doing all 3 of these the last 2 weeks. All 2. We haven't started prototypes yet, but we've been doing storyboarding, workflows, and wireframes. You've been doing that the last 2 to 3 weeks. We're in a design phase. When you're in a design phase, one thing that we saw today, which is a very valuable lesson, is you cannot abandon what you established in the define stage. You have to hold on to that. So when you move on to storyboarding and wireframing, every decision you make has to reflect what you discovered during the definition phase or in the define phase. Because if you start designing without the objective in mind, the design can go left or the design isn't achieving the goal anymore, which is why the whole entire time you're designing, the question has to be, is this helping the user achieve what they came here for? Is this design choice making a pleasurable, enjoyable experience for the end user? Is this design choice targeting? Is it the best choice for who we're targeting, the age, the demographic? Is it the best choice? So when you move on to 3, you have to hold hands with number 2 the entire time that you're in phase 3. And after phase 3, once we finish storyboarding and wireframing, we start actually adding the aesthetics. So now we start prototyping. So now we're actually designing it and it looks like the page, right? So now we're using Figma to actually create what we call mocks. The mocks look like the page. It looks like the final product. So that's when you start adding the aesthetic to it. the colors, the font choices, the art part, the artsy part of it, how it's going to be laid out, that sort of thing. Once you get to that point, it's a back and forth. So you come up with a design, you show the design to the business, the business gives you inputs on what they like, what they don't like. You go back to the drawing board, you implement the design, you go back to, you have demo, it's called demo. You demo to the product, you demo the product. The product is, what's the product?
The product is the website, right?
Yep. Yep. So you demo the website to the business. Business gives you feedback. It's a back and forth until the business agrees. It's a back and forth. And then once the business says we like this, I like the way it looks, and the prototype is the prototype or the mock is solid, then we start testing.
Oh, test. Okay.
Yes, that's 4. Testing is when you have end users, right? So say, for example, you may grab one of your clients and you may say, hey, you give them a task and you say, I want you to book a service. I want you to book I'm not going to tell you anything, right? And you say, I want you to go to this prototype, because Figma allows you to do prototypes before we start the development side. So before you start coding, Figma allows you to create a prototype. So the user can go through and they can click through as if it's a website, even though it's not a website. And you'll say, I want you to book a service. And you just sit back and you watch. And you watch does the user know how to navigate the workflow to book a service? And then you may say, I want you to cancel a service, which is something we didn't consider now that I'm talking through it. You got to go back and work that in. And you can add, that'll be part of your homework assignment. But if they choose to cancel a service, what's that workflow? You will say, I want to pay. I want to make a payment. So you see what I'm saying? So testing is you give end users, I would say at least 3 end users, but more is better. But at least 3 to 5, right? You give 3 to 5 end users, you give them the task that they should be able to complete, and you just sit back and watch. Because what are you identifying when you watch them as they go through the flow? Do you remember the keyword? Yes, but what's the keyword? We want to establish if there are any blank.
Oh, pain points.
Yes, exactly. We want to identify any pain points. Because one thing about designing is hard because it's just like writing a paper. You don't see your own typos because it's in your head. So a lot of times we make assumptions because we know what we're doing, but when you test with actual users, they're not making those same assumptions. So testing is very important. And any pain points that are identified, you go back to which phase? 1, 2, or 3? If a pain point is identified, which of the 5 phases of the product development lifecycle do you go back to?
2.
2?
Or 1? Because is it pain point? So we have to redo it, right?
So design, right?
Yeah, it's going to be design.
So
like if somebody if we establish a pain point, we go back to the drawing board and we start redesigning some stuff. So say, for example, if in our workflow, for a person was trying to book, but they couldn't find a button, we would go back to the design phase and maybe make the button front and center, make it bigger. You see what I'm saying? Or let's just say a pain point was they couldn't, I don't know, they couldn't figure out where to go and look for their measurements. So that would take us back to the design where we would say, well, maybe we should position measurements on the left since everyone clicks there, whatever. But that you would go back to the design phase, and then you go back to testing. So you're going to go between 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4 until you get it right, until the end user can complete the task. Can you guess what the 5th phase is?
launch.
Yep. Launch. And then launching, even though it's the 5th and the final phase, it's not going to be the final phase. Really, this is where the job security comes in, because what's going to happen after it's live? And launching means that either, if you were designing a physical product, like if you were a UX designer for the iPhone or the iPad or something like that, Launch would be like the new iPad or iPhone being in the Apple store on a display. If it's an app, then launch would be the app being listed in the Apple Play Store or the Google Play Store. If it's a website, launch means that the site is live to the public. And it can mean all of the above, depending on what you're designing. But once you actually launch and the public starts using it, what do you think the cycle, what do you think happens?
You get pain points, and then you got to go
Yeah,
back and fix it again and
yeah,
change.
yeah, exactly. Because even though you did your best and you tested with a control group, 3 to 5, like the whole world is so vast. So, once the numbers increase, there may be just more feedback that maybe that control 3 to 5 didn't think about, but it may be valid. And you kind of go back in and you just keep adjusting. And the app is a living thing and it evolves and it goes through this evolution where things keep changing. Even if you think about accessibility, like when I first started, accessibility has always been a thing, but it's not as vigilantly, I guess you can say, tended to as it attended to then as it is now. Because now it's just like, we kind of go back because there's new devices. Sometimes there's new screen readers, right? And I have to go back and make sure the way I develop the site as a developer accommodates that. Um, Sometimes there are new things that we didn't know. So sometimes technology will come out like I was telling you guys before, like scrolling animations and things scrolling across the screen or being animated and morphing and moving. When I was initially designed, we weren't aware that it was triggering seizures. Now we are aware that it triggers seizures. So that makes us have to go back to the drawing board and change the design.
Mm.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's always there's always new information. Even with the new, what's relatively new is the whole pronoun thing, right? So it's like the apps 10 years ago just said, are you male or female? When you talk about um is the app equitable? When we come back here, equitable. Well, before we weren't considering that, and now we are. So it may be like a going back to the drawing board, and now you got to add he, she, them, and whatever else it is, they, right? That's yeah. Yep. So characteristics of a good user design, make a mental note, is definitely on your certification exam. Characteristics are it has to be usable. And initially, what we looked at was not really usable. Can you see the evolution of it becoming more usable in the practice that we went through?
Yes.
Yeah. Why was it? So if you had to recap, why would you say it was not usable initially? Well, it was not as usable as it could be initially.
Well, for one, it was only geared towards booking a service, which was very selfish. And then it wasn't even, it just wasn't thorough or thought out. It was just like, it was real. Here's the site, book a service. If you're a member, you book a service. If you're not a member, you book a service. So
Yeah.
I didn't give any information. No. What did you call it? Like the hand waving, the opposite of a pain point?
Oh, for it to be enjoyable?
Yeah, no, like enjoyable things on there. Um,
Mhm.
it was just real,
Yeah. What usability did we add that wasn't there before?
um,
The ability to do what?
to make a profile,
Yes.
the ability to go back to the homepage after you're done with
Hmm.
the other stuff.
What other usability did we implement for people who were booking InBody and the others? What usability did we add for them that wasn't there before?
Um,
Because initially, if I booked a service for an InBody, I wasn't able to go back and look at the results at any time.
right.
Remember?
And you were a non-member.
right. But this approach is if I book a service, I'm a member. Meaning like, and
Oh,
that's opening up the definition of what a member is. So a
mm-hmm.
member is not somebody who just has current service. A member is anyone who has purchased something from you. And if there's something that's valuable for them to be able to access, they should be able to access it. So if I book a health assessment, usability is I should be able to go back and look at the results of my health assessment without contacting the trainer every single time I want to see something. That was a usability issue
Okay.
that we saw because going back to so you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what were the usability features that we added? So now they weren't able to do this, now they can do this. Just to
They
recap.
weren't able to look at, they weren't able to go back and see any in-body assessments or any stats if they weren't a member. And now they can. They weren't able to create a profile and become like a different tier kind of member. And now they can. And they weren't able to go back to the homepage after it was over or go
Mhm.
back to, whatever page.
Yeah, usable. Because basically, you don't want to create a useless app.
Right.
Because if the only thing I can do is book a service, it's kind of useless to me. But if you, the more features you give me, the more usable it is. You know, like if I can track my progress, that makes it usable. You know, equitable. Once we get to equitable, enjoyable, and useful, that kind of comes into play more so when we start mapping out the layout of the page. Because right now, I feel like the workflow kind of attacks it. First of all four characteristics are present, whether we're doing workflow, wireframing, mocking, detail, aesthetic, is all there. But sometimes when you're in certain phases, more things are paid attention to. So during the workflow, the usability of it is heavily focused in on during the workflow. Equitable, once we start mapping out the details, like what's available in the drop down, the verbiage we use, um, the colors we use, the service offerings, all of that stuff kind of ties more into whether or not it's equitable. Enjoyable becomes the bells and whistles and the fun stuff we get to add to it. And useful and usable are closely tied together. But I would say the difference between usable and useful, maybe I've been talking backwards. I feel like what I just defined is useful when I was saying like they can actually go in and they can look at their assessments, they can actually see what they see the results. That's probably more useful. Usable would be more so, can I actually access it? So if I am visually impaired, does the screen reader work? If I do suffer from being colorblind, can I still read all of the text? If I try to open, close, click, can I use it without running into hiccups? So switch those, this because usable, useful, they're so close.
Okay.
Does that make
Um,
sense?
yes. Can you check your direct message?
Okay. 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 Yeah. So yes, it is time for break. So we can take our 15-minute break. Our 15-minute breaks are from the time we get back, right? So I think what time we got back at 9. We got back at 9. What time did we get back? Was it like 10:22?
No. We went on break at 9:11, so we got back at 9.
9:26.
Okay, so we're 10 minutes behind break time.
Ugh.
Okay. All right. So let's take our break. Let's take our 15. Let's assume that is 40 after, and then let's just come back at 55.
Okay.
Okay.